Hey, so I've been gaining some subscribers lately. I really just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. If there is any musical topic you want me to talk about, like anything, please don't be shy, drop a comment. Please, I'm begging you, I need ideas. Yeah, onto the video. A little while ago, my man Adam Neely posted a video called Why You Don't Want Perfect Pitch. It was almost a year ago, actually. In the video, he basically argues that while perfect pitch is awesome, he would never want it for himself, and by extension, neither should you.
There are some reasons why you might not want to have perfect pitch, and your life as a musician or music lover is better without it.
He didn't cut any corners. He just got straight to the point, put it right in the video description. He takes time to define perfect pitch, or absolute pitch, discusses the different kinds of perfect pitch, discusses relative pitch, briefly tells us a few benefits of perfect pitch, and tells us, of course, why he would not want perfect pitch. What's kind of interesting is that there seems to be just one singular reason why Adam does not want perfect pitch, and it's a reason I find kinda silly, to be honest. I'll get into that later in the video, I promise. What do you think of this chord? You might think it's happy, loud, elongated, arpeggiated. So let me ask you now, what chord is it? If you instantly knew it was an F sharp major 7/9 chord, then you might have perfect pitch. When most musicians hear a note or a chord out of context, they might be able to tell you the quality, the dynamics, the articulation, and about 100 other things, but they usually can't tell you exactly what note or chord it is. Scientists aren't quite sure why our ears aren't as good at fine interpretation as, let's say, our eyes. When you look at an apple, you can just immediately tell, oh, this is red. So when you hear this note, why can't you just immediately tell, oh, this is B flat? What's interesting is that both our eyes and ears are very good at telling qualities apart when given relatives, or something to compare it to. Take a look at this color, for example. What do you think it is? Green? Blue? Teal? Something else? Now take a look at it next to this color. Even though we couldn't immediately tell the first color, we can easily tell that the two colors are very closely related. We can basically do the same thing with musical notes. Even though you might not immediately know what this note is, when you hear this note after it, you can immediately tell that the two notes are very close together. And in fact, they are just one whole step apart. When refined, this skill is called relative pitch. As a musician, this is a super useful skill to have. Most musicians agree that while pretty much anybody can learn relative pitch, unfortunately most people can't learn perfect pitch. You kinda have it or you don't. Videos like this
C
are a complete waste of time, so don't even bother. Let me say first that Adam's video is super interesting, and I really did learn a lot from it. One of the things I learned is that I have something called quasi-absolute pitch. This essentially means that I can recognize some notes without a reference, but then I can use relative pitch to determine what the other notes are. So I don't really know what A flat sounds like, but I do know where C is. C, this is C, and then I can go down to A flat using relative pitch, this is A flat. As someone with some form of perfect pitch, I come from a different perspective than Adam Neely does, so I can safely say there's a lot of stuff that he missed when talking about the pros and cons, which is perfectly understandable because he comes from the perspective of somebody without perfect pitch. That sounded really condescending. I am so sorry. I love you, Adam. As a quick disclaimer, I can only speak to my personal experiences. I do not claim to represent everybody with perfect pitch. This is my friend Jan.
Well, hi everybody. My name is Jan Knudsen.
Not only does he have perfect pitch, but he is an insane guitar player. What are your favorite things about having perfect pitch?
It's a great party trick. It's nice for listening to stuff and being able to play along with it like right away. But I mean, not that you can't necessarily do that with with relative pitch, but I feel like it makes it a lot easier to just jump into something without any knowledge of what's going on.
If you don't have perfect pitch, there are definitely ways you can easily hop in on a jam. You could play a note and then use relative pitch to see what key everybody's in. You could also use visual cues, like the guitar player's hands, to see if there's any recognizable chord shapes. Of course, any musician of any skill level, with or without perfect pitch, can have fun jamming. There's just kind of a special feeling you get when you can just jump in without having to take any time to figure it out. Another fun part about perfect pitch is that transcribing music is pretty easy. Just take a look at this Jacob Collier transcription by June Lee. Now, it goes without saying, of course you do not need perfect pitch to make a good transcription. Adam Neely himself does tons of transcribing without having perfect pitch. Having perfect pitch just helps to speed up your workflow, which is convenient, especially when you have a deadline to turn in your music theory project. Something else I personally love being able to do is to sing a song in the car, in the right key, without needing a reference tone.
Make it count, play it straight, don't look back, don't hesitate.
If you don't have perfect pitch, you can still definitely sing in the right key. You just might need a tuning fork or something. Or you could just put it in the aux.
Make it count, play it straight, don't look back, don't hesitate.
But probably my favorite part about having perfect pitch is the ability to tune an instrument without using a tuner. I've never owned or used a tuner in my life. I don't even have a tuner on my phone. Speaking of my life, which I know you all are dying to hear about, I happen to be an elementary school music teacher. Since the kids don't know how to do this yet, I tune all their violins before violin class starts. It is super convenient to be able to just do this without having to fumble with a tuner that I'll probably just lose after a couple of weeks. Of course, needless to say, you do not need perfect pitch to tune your instrument. If you practice a lot, you could probably do it really quickly using a tuner, using your phone, or a reference tone. In fact, orchestras do this at the beginning of every concert. There are definitely some downsides to having perfect pitch, none of which Adam really discussed in his video. The first downside actually stems from the last upside I mentioned, which is overconfidence in your tuning abilities. While most perfect pitchers can tell you what note something is, nobody, and I mean nobody, can pinpoint a note as precisely as a machine can. Charlie Puth is considered by some to be the godchild of perfect pitch.
Here's an F sharp. Here's a B. Here's an F. Here's a B flat. Here's an E.
But take a closer look at his phone. You can tell that while he can nail the pitch name, he can never quite sing it precisely in tune. You might think, so what? I mean, he's so close, who cares? But let me tell you, in some scenarios, precision matters. There have been dozens of times where I've been performing live and thought to myself, gosh, man, I should have used a tuner.
I mean, I've definitely been in places where I thought I was in tune and I wasn't. You know, if I have the opportunity, I try and, check at least with somebody else, the people I'm playing with, make sure I'm in tune with them.
When you have perfect pitch, playing an instrument that's tuned differently from how you're used to can be a nightmare. Remember how insane of a guitarist Jan is? This is him jamming along to a groove I sent him. So what I did next is I asked him to tune his guitar into Open D tuning. Open D is a fairly common tuning system that most experienced guitarists have played in before.
Open D tuning. Is there a tuning more beautiful than this one? I don't think so. D, A, D, F sharp, A, D.
Now look at the way he plays. Yeah, it's still alright, but it's nowhere near as fluid as when he was in standard tuning, which is what he's used to. Personally, I don't play too much guitar, but I hate capos. Using capos sucks.
Oh, big one. Yes.
When somebody says play a G with a capo on fourth, it kind of makes my skin crawl. I know what they mean. They want me to use a G shape in my left hand, but to me that sounds like a B chord, because it is a B chord.
The one chord in the key of B is B, which again looks like the G shape.
For people with perfect pitch, listening to music that's been pitch shifted even just a tiny bit can feel super uncomfortable. A while ago I was listening to the radio when Dua Lipa's Break My Heart came on. Now I love this song, but I noticed something was a little bit off. So I switched to another radio station, and what do you know, they're playing the exact same song, but this time in the right key. This is real footage. I promise I did not alter this one bit. Mix 106.5 was playing the song in the right key, but Z104.3 was a little bit sharp. Those are both Baltimore stations, by the way. I have no idea why Z1043 would do this, but it definitely made me feel a little antsy. Now that I've summed up my pros and cons, this is why Adam Neely would not want perfect pitch.
Another account reads, around the time I got my first pair of reading glasses, my sense of absolute pitch started to waver. I got C's and B's mixed up, and to be honest, this was a surprisingly alarming development. A whole dimension of my existence seemed to fade away. So with lots of anecdotal evidence and some limited research to suggest that if you have perfect pitch, you'll eventually lose it and feel like a stroke patient who has to fight to force his limbs to work again. I'm not sure if I really want perfect pitch.
To sum up what he's saying, you'll lose your perfect pitch when you get older, and with that, you'll lose a piece of your identity. This is an understandable point of view, but I think it's wrong. To explain why I disagree, I'm going to talk a little bit about ice hockey. For decades, Wayne Gretzky dominated professional ice hockey, both in the NHL and internationally. He set world records over 20 years ago that still stand to this day. Yet, when asked in 2016 if he still plays hockey, he said this: "I mean, I skate once a year. I just really never find the energy, the enthusiasm to grab my equipment and say, oh, I'm gonna play pickup hockey. I think when you play in the National Hockey League, you play with the best players and against the best players. It's hard to go play Friday night hockey." Out of context, this sounds super sad. The man who dominated his sport doesn't even enjoy playing anymore. But let me ask you this. Do you think he regrets his superstar career? Of course, he knew that one day he would lose his ability to dominate the sport. And that's okay. Just because you lose some skills when you get older doesn't mean you should reject those skills when you're younger. For my friends out there who have perfect pitch, this is my lesson. Own your perfect pitch. Use your perfect pitch. But don't make it part of your identity. Everybody knows that Charlie Puth has perfect pitch, but what they also know is that he's a freaking insane songwriter who can just crank out hit after hit after hit. It's true that one day you will lose your perfect pitch, so my advice is prepare for that day. Always work on developing your relative pitch. Mentally prepare yourself to still have fun making music when you're older, without perfect pitch. Because even though you might lose it, you should never lose your identity as somebody who loves making music. If you made it all the way through the video, thank you so much for watching. This is by far the most work I've ever put into a video. So if you want to like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff, I will thank you so much for it. Okay, bye.